Comrades and friends, welcome to the program Global Weekly News, serial number 73. First, Comrade N. Sankaraya, no more. The great freedom fighter and veteran Marxist leader, Comrade N. Sankaraya, died at the age of 102 in Chennai on 15th November. He was a great revolutionary, writer, orator, organizer, etc. He was in jail for 8 years. 4 years before independence and 4 years after independence. He had undergone life of 4 years. He was MLA for 3 times. He got a special award from Tamil Nadu government along with a gift of 10 lakh rupees. Comrade NS donated this money towards Chief Minister Relief Fund. Comrade NS encouraged love marriages. In his family, you can find members of different castes and different religions. He was one of the 32 National Council members of Communist Party of India who formed CPIM in 1964. He was President and General Secretary of All India Kisan Sabha. Comrade NS inspired the toiling masses by his roaring, thundering speech like a lion. He dreamt of a decisive role for the left movement in Tamil Nadu from a position of a force to reckon with. On 7th November, he greeted the people with the slogan, Inqilab Jindabad. Let us resolve to achieve his dreams. Let's salute to Comrade NS. Second, we go to South Korea. We are going to see the heroic fight of the South Korean Motor Workers Union, Motor Manufacturing Company Union. In the 2009 Sungyeong Motor Company workers of South Korea went on 77-day strike against the layoff of 2,500 workers. The strike took place in a period of world economic, financial crisis and recession. The crisis was used by international capital as a justification for the crackdown on unionization and labor rights. The labor dispute had begun in January 2009 when the company filed for bankruptcy. Soon after, more than 2,500 workers were laid off. According to the Korean Metal Workers Union, KMWU, the bankruptcy filing was fraudulent. As the mass layoffs were announced by the company, thousands of workers declared a full strike and occupied the factory on May 21. Supported by Korean Metal Workers Union, the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, KCTU, family members and workers of nearby factories together prepared for a long battle. The strike focused on 3 main demands: no layoffs, job security for all, and no outsourcing. In the beginning, the company used private security guards and hired gundas to attack the striking workers. Till July 2009, the striking workers resisted various attempts by the company hired goons to remove them. In mid-July, thousands of heavily armed riot police assaulted the workers, used water cannons and helicopter launching tear gas onto the roofs. The striking workers used Molotov cocktails, nuts and bolts, and even the bare hands to resist the attack. The workers refused to bow down and leave the factory. Meanwhile, the workers received massive domestic and international support and solidarity. On July 4th and July 11th, the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions held nationwide labor rallies. On 16th July, thousands of Korean Metal Workers Union members attempted to march towards the factory with food and water, but were stopped by the police. On 20th July, thousands of police and company gundas, backed by helicopters carrying a chemical that could melt styrofoam, attacked the factory. The striking workers retreated to the company's paint plant, knowing that police would not launch a massive attack on the paint plant as it contained thousands of gallons of highly flammable liquids. Outside the factory, Also, the supporters of the strike were attacked by police violently. The workers told the press that they will resolutely fight to the death. After a series of failed negotiations and unilateral cancellations of talks by the company management, finally on 6th August 2009, an agreement was reached to end the strike. An early retirement for 52% of the striking workers, 48% of workers to go on unpaid temporary leave for 1 year, after which they would be rehired, economic conditions permitting. Despite the agreement, around 153 striking workers were dismissed. The company also went back on its assurance to taking back temporary workers. In November 2014, 5 years after the strike, a high court ruled in favor of the dismissed workers and deemed the company's action illegal. But the judgment was overruled by the Supreme Court within a month. The Supreme Court ruled that the strike was illegal and the workers were held liable to damages to the tune of $36 lakhs. In 2018 September, the dismissal of 111 workers were nullified. 30 workers either committed suicide or died during and after the strike. Trade unions and social movements came out to support these strikers by delivering money in yellow envelopes, yellow covers. The demand for better laws to protect workers' rights had continued. South Korea's opposition-dominated National Assembly unanimously passed the landmark Trade Union and Labor Relations Adjustment Act on 9th November 2023, that is this month, 9th November, as the country witnesses rising trade unionism and labor mobilization. The bill, commonly known as the Yellow Envelope Bill, was passed with a vote of 173 MPs, while all the ruling party MPs boycotted the session in protest. The new labor bill will significantly expand labor rights to include indirectly employed workers also, and then limit the channels for employers to sue the workers, to file cases against the workers and trade unions for damage claims in response to strikes and labor actions. That is, the management cannot go for legal damages with the workers or the unions. Nevertheless, the bill requires the presidential assent to be enacted as a law. With growing labor mobilizations, the pressure is on the president to give assent, though the ruling party and various business groups insisting on the president to veto the bill, to veto the pro-worker bill. Under these circumstances, recently in South Korea, in the capital Seoul, metro rail workers went on 2-day strike. Let us look into the details. Seoul is the capital of South Korea. Seoul Metro, a government public sector undertaking, caters to the need of travel of 70 lakh passengers daily. For the first few years, the management says it incurred losses to the tune of $1,390 crore. It announced layoff for 13.5% metro workers, that is 2,212 workers to be laid off by 2026, and the services of 383 workers will be terminated by the end of this year, 2023. If layoff is implemented, safety of passengers will be at risk, according to the trade union. 10,000 Seoul metro workers went on strike on November 9 and 10 against the anti-labor action of the management. More than 7,000 workers conducted a rally in Seoul. The negotiations with the management by the trade unions on behalf of 16,000 metro rail workers have failed. This year, 276 vacancies will arise due to retirement of many existing employees. Trade union demanded to recruit 771 new workers. Finally, the management announced that 660 new workers will be recruited. But it did not give up the proposed layoff of 2,212 workers. After the public examinations on 16th November, trade unions will go for national general strike. This is the warning of the trade union to the management. Then, comrades, let us go to San Francisco, where Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit has taken place. Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit was held at San Francisco of USA on November 11 to 17. Against this summit, 10,000 workers and people protested in San Francisco on 12th November. On 11th November, a parallel summit was held jointly by 150 organizations of USA. 1,000 people participated in the parallel summit. APEC, that is Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, is the epitome, that is example of all that is wicked and corrupt in our society today, said Simon, a doctor and a member of the anti-imperialist Korean American organization. He described APEC as a closed-door meeting in which billionaires and politicians plot innovative ways to further exploit the working class of our planet. Protests chanted from Palestine to the Philippines, "Stop the US war machine." The city was prioritizing the safety of chief executive officer billionaires while threatening the safety of its most vulnerable residents. Now then let us go to see against Israel. The Arab League countries and the Islamic countries are getting together. Arab League Organization of Islamic Country Summit. Riyadh is the capital of Saudi Arabia. In Riyadh, a summit of 57 countries of Arab League and Organization of Islamic Countries, OIC, was held on 11th November. The summit rejected the Israeli claim that its war on Gaza was in self-defense. The participating members held Israel responsible for continuation and aggravation of the conflict and warned of the disastrous repercussions for its war crimes. The joint communique issued after the meeting also reiterated the demand for an immediate end of the barbaric, inhuman and brutal massacre by the colonial occupation government in Gaza and an end to Israel's barbaric crimes committed also in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Israeli offensive since 7th October have killed more than 11,000 Palestinians, mostly children and women and the elderly, and injured over 27,000. Israeli attacks have displaced more than 70% of the 23 lakh population of Gaza, destroying residential buildings, hospitals, schools, shelters, and almost all of its civil infrastructure. Iranian president, the president of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, traveled to Saudi Arabia after a gap of 11 years to attend the summit. Ibrahim Raisi blamed the US for the genocide in Gaza. Ibrahim Raisi presented a 10-point proposal to deal with the Israeli aggression. The proposal included a complete boycott of Israel by all the members of the Organization of Islamic Countries. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, Turkish President Erdogan, and Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman are among the participants in the summit. The joint communique declared that Israel shall stop all its illegal actions and free independent Palestine is the legitimate right of the Palestinians. To resolve the Palestinian cause, Israeli occupation shall end. A two-state solution shall be arrived at. The summit called all the countries to stop exporting ammunition and weapons to Israel, calling Israel's incessant, frequent attacks on hospitals and other civilian infrastructure in Gaza a form of collective punishment. The communique asked the UN Security Council to adopt a resolution against it and other international institutions, including the International Criminal Court, to investigate Israel for its war crimes. The summit also underlined the need for initiating a peace process to resolve the Palestinian issue as soon as possible. Comrades, the Palestinian political prisoners in Israel are being tortured like anything. Since October 7, Palestinian political prisoners have had their rights further eroded as the Israeli prison authorities carry out a campaign of collective punishment. Before 7th October 2023, Israel was holding 5,200 Palestinian political prisoners in its jails. This included 170 children also. Since 7th October, Israel has escalated its raids across Palestinian towns and villages in the West Bank, arresting dozens of Palestinians daily. The Palestinian citizens have been arrested over social media posts also. After 7th October, Israel revoked the work permits of Palestinian workers from Gaza and thousands were arrested. Israel has more than doubled the number of Palestinian prisoners since October 7. That is, the number of prisoners, Palestinian political prisoners in Israeli jails have exceeded 10,000. Within the prisons, Israel has launched the oppression of prisoners more and more. Israel has completely halted all visits by family members, representatives of the International Committee for the Red Cross, and severely limited lawyer visits. 2 prisoners died within days of their arrest. Comrades, next we go to see the most inhuman act of Israel attacking Gaza's hospital. War crimes of Israel in Palestine have reached a new level. Israel's ground forces stormed inside Al-Shifa, Gaza's largest hospital, on 15th November after having bombed its surroundings for weeks. Israeli tanks have reportedly surrounded the hospital compound. Israeli soldiers entered the surgical and emergency building of the hospital, opening fire. Reports of casualties have not yet emerged, partially due to the communication blackout. Israeli forces have reportedly arrested journalists trying to cover the attack on Al-Shifa hospital. According to reports, there were over 650 patients and over 6,000 displaced Palestinians inside the Al-Shifa hospital when Israeli forces stormed it. There are around 36 newborn babies in incubators who are at the risk of dying due to the failure of electricity. A large number of health workers remain inside the hospital as they decided to stay back with their patients despite Israeli threats. According to international law, targeting hospitals even during war times is considered a war crime. Then, comrades, many countries have taken steps to formally denounce the Israeli genocide of Gaza. Colombia, let us see what is the Colombia's reaction. A South American country where left President Gustavo Petro is there. Colombian President Gustavo Petro announced on 9th November that Colombia would support Algeria's case in the International Criminal Court against Israel. On 7th November, North African country Algeria had called on the International Criminal Court to hold Israel accountable for its crimes in Gaza. Where is humanity? And where is the global conscience that has become absent regarding the genocide being committed? Asked Algeria President. On 5th February 2021, the International Criminal Court opened an investigation regarding the situation in Palestine. But the investigation did not advance following pressure such as the US opposition. The US claimed that the International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction over this matter. 3 Palestinian organizations asked the Criminal Court to issue arrest warrants against Israel's President, Israel's Prime Minister and Israel's Defense Minister, who dubbed Gazans as human animals. On 31st October, Bolivia completely severed its ties with Israel. South Africa withdrew all its diplomats from Israel. Turkey will do everything to bring Israel's war crimes to the International Criminal Court, Erdogan announced. Thank you, comrades. Salam. See you next week.